Hello, I'm Neil Cox. I'm the Chief Executive of the Isaac Theatre Royal in Christchurch. It's quite a long story. I was born in the UK and then moved to South Africa in my early teens. But through then I went to university in Johannesburg and studied engineering, which was quite bizarre, and got involved with the university radio station there. So I started to gather records for the DJs to play, so I'd go to all the record companies to get all the new releases and compile the playlists and then get onto radio and do that stuff. So, however, cut a long story short, I ended up moving into the record companies and not getting my engineering degree, but learnt a lot about engineering during that time. Yeah. And then when I was about 22, I went back to the UK, and in between that I'd had a short-term job at Warner Records in Johannesburg, and had met people who had travelled down to South Africa at that time, so it's always the old story, never underestimate your contacts. So when I went back to the UK, I got hold of a couple of people and ended up working for Warner Brothers in the UK. And then various other record companies, and then EMI in the UK, and then I went back to South Africa, and then I came over to New Zealand. I worked in Australia since with the music industry, and then ultimately somewhere in between that, when I first came to New Zealand, I started touring acts and putting on concerts. And so subsequently I sort of learned more about what happens backstage than front stage, and ultimately after a spell in Australia for 3 years, I came back, did a few more shows and tours, and I came to see the Theatre Royal just after it had been refurbished, probably around about 2007, and I think the concert we saw here was Beck Runga at the time with Neil Finn, and he was on the piano in her band, which was very cool, and the opening band for that was Flight of the Conchords. So, you know, you can start seeing where the paths all end up. So a musical called Priscilla was coming up, and through just various contacts and opportunity came up to maybe stage that in Christchurch at the time. The board of the theatre said, like, would you like to manage the theatre? Oh. And I really had to think about that long and hard, because I was having quite a good time, an exciting time, and doing things, but it probably was time of my life that I thought maybe something else should happen. I think it'd be mad to not enjoy your job. I think that the fun comes out of the challenges. So if your challenges eventuate in what happens on stage, and 1,200 people stand on their feet and clap at the end of the show, then that must be fun. That can't not be a fun thing. It's two things really. I mean, from my previous career, I met lots of people. So I mean, probably the excitement of that, or the fear of meeting those people, went away many years ago. It's more now a respect, I think, is more a thing, especially if you take something like ballet or opera, which I'd never seen a ballet until I joined the theatre here, and I thought the first time I went to one, I thought, goodness me, this is amazing. And it wasn't so much about the story, it wasn't, or how it was done, or the sets, or the production. It was about the pure talent and fitness of those dancers, and that they didn't do that for 5 performances on our stage. and that's total respect. So that side of it I really enjoy. Yeah, I suppose for us it's an interesting one with heritage now, because the Theatre Royal is heritage. It's not only a heritage building, even though many parts of it have been replaced and restored and rebuilt, but it's the heritage of our lives, I think, as well. So I mean, there's generations of families who've not only been to the theatre but performed on the stage in various guises or performances, and now their grandchildren and great-grandchildren are doing that. So it's a heritage of Christchurch and Canterbury. It's an inbred thing. So to have an open day like today, specifically for the Heritage Week, is just that opportunity for us to say, okay, there's no show on today. You don't have to pay like a ticket price to get in. There's just a small donation to come to the theatre and come and see what we've done, because what we hope we've achieved with the rebuild is that for many years to come, people will come in and look inside the auditorium when they're sitting in their seats and go, this has always been here. This has always been here. Even though it's a new theatre, so it's almost like a public amnesia of sorts, that they forgot that we've demolished it, but they've come back and had a look, and it makes them feel part of their own heritage. And I think that's the glory of the Theatre Royal. We sort of thought we had to do something special, but we weren't too sure what we were going to do. And sometimes things come along and go away, and sometimes things come along and they're not quite right. And it was difficult because it was also a Tuesday, so we weren't too sure what we were going to do. So it was now a Cirque show is coming through, which is called Lenoir, and which starts on the 12th of November and finishes on our first anniversary. So we've spoken to all our guests and all our patrons and all our supporters over the past year and said be there for our first celebration, even though it's closing night of the show. But it will see the theatre transformed into something you've never seen in your life before, and it involves seating on stage and audience actually seated on stage. A lot of quite interesting kit that rotates and spins and does stuff in between people's seats and things, and some wonderful acrobats. And so it'll be a bit of a celebration. It's a lot of fun. I don't think a lot is going to change. I mean, I know what we already have coming up in the next 3 years in various sections of the year. We can't tell anyone yet because it's not announced, but we know we have to book our calendars far in advance. So the next 3 years are very, very good. I think in the overall recovery of the city, though, I think that we will be and will continue to be a very important pulling point towards the central city, that people will come for a night out, so it is an experience at the theatre as opposed to just going to the theatre. And then ultimately we'll have other venues, and that will be great. Competition's a healthy thing, and we might lose certain performances to other venues and we might gain some from others. It's just the way it goes. But ultimately I think that I'm not so worried about the next 3 years. I'm more worried about the next 20 years, and that the ITR sits as proud as it does in that position then, because I won't be here in 20 years time. I hope not anyway, because it would need somebody, otherwise I'd just be sitting around doing nothing, wouldn't I? So it needs new blood and everything to come through in a few years' time to have the same passion and, I suppose, experience hopefully, and also inspiration as myself, and to have that absolute passion for the theatre. That it's a great place to work and a great place to see shows.